Hey, everybody. I have a real special guest today. Her name is Stephanie Ann. Stephanie graduated college with a degree in communications, but went on to become a teacher for those with intellectual disabilities. Then her life changed when she was permanently disabled herself. Hey, Stephanie, tell us how all this began.
So I had a very typical upbringing. I'm in high school, getting ready to go to college. I knew I wanted to be some big hot executive. I wanted to, I loved commercials and writing, and I was like, I'll get a degree in communications. I learned that's what you call that, and I'll study marketing. And I went away to school and I worked really hard, and I was about to graduate on a 4-year path. And the last year that I was studying communications and marketing, I had a roommate who was studying to be a special ed teacher. And while she was studying, she started substitute teaching for the district where we were at. And I had a job, but it wasn't my favorite job. I was just working at a store at the mall. And she's like, you should be a substitute teacher. And I was like, I'm not a teacher. I'm a marketing executive. Like, why would I do that?
Seemed beneath you a little bit.
Oh, more so like, what would I be getting myself into? I have no experience with this. I mean, I always grew up babysitting, but I didn't think I had like a calling to work with children. None of that was stirred within me at that point. I was just like, that's not my job. That's not who I am. And she was just like, so she's selling me on the perks. Like somehow she talked me into it, and I started substitute teaching, and I just really was enjoying it to begin. And I was like, oh, this doesn't really feel like work. I'm just kind of hanging out, helping these kids. This is really cool. And yeah,
Was that surprising to you?
It was, again, because I even at the time had I had already done an internship at the radio station. I was used to, going to like the big fairs and throwing t-shirts at people. I wasn't used to like sitting down with a kid at a desk and, helping them do their math problems. So yeah, I was very surprised that I was enjoying it. And while I'm doing that, and it was just the whole time, every time one of these I'd call like big life shifts happened, it was so smooth. It was like I got the job immediately as a substitute teacher. There wasn't this huge waiting, am I going to get it? It was just like, it just happened. Wow. And while I'm a substitute teacher and I'm really loving it, one of the teachers that I was working with, she was like, well, you should apply for the special education substitute department. I'm like, well, what's the difference? I didn't even know the difference. And so they're explaining to me, well, you'd focus more on the special education classrooms, or I would be a paraprofessional or a teacher's assistant. And I was like, well, I don't really know what that is. And she even told me, she's like, those jobs are always available because no one wants them.
That's sad.
Yeah. And I was like, well, you're not selling it to me, but I had loved what I had already gotten into just with substitute teaching the general ed so much. I was like, I'll try it, because you can always deny jobs. And next thing I know, they're the only jobs I want to take. And I am completely enamored with these students that I'm meeting and these teachers that I'm working with. I wish I could explain it better than different, but it was different in the best way possible. And one of the supervisors at the district that I was substituting in was like, well, we need a teacher's assistant and we need someone qualified. We need someone with your passion. So if you took this position as a teacher's assistant, we would let you do your student teaching while you work. And so again, that was just another door that just opened up for me. While most people going to school to be teachers would have to put months into a position that they didn't get paid for, I got to get paid and do my job and keep living on my own.
Wow. Did any of your friends or family at the time be like, well, what about your marketing degree and all that. Did anybody like, what about that? Or
Right. Well, they saw it. They saw the change in me.
okay,
I barely got any pushback. I remember I sat in my parents' house, and I told my mom first, and she didn't even try to like talk me out of it. It was just she could see
she could
how
tell.
passionate and how much I loved it. I'd been at this point working for schools for about a year or even two at this point.
That's amazing. So you went from thinking you're going to be a big marketing executive to now you're a teacher.
Now I'm a teacher.
What was the time span? Just that doesn't sound very long.
Oh gosh, I was teaching within 3 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a whole turnaround and you're a teacher.
Now I'm a
And,
teacher.
and
And I
then
feel
you,
like I'm doing what I meant to do, right?
right.
Like all the doors, nothing was a coincidence to me. Everything, when I could reflect on it, was like just validated me. Like if I'm having a bad day as a teacher, I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. I still had that same passion every day when I went to work.
Wow. But anyway, you're teaching,
I'm teaching.
and then you
I just become tenured, and then I become physically disabled.
right. Now, at what point now had you been gotten physically disabled? Were you engaged? Still dating? Were you married? How did
We're
that
engaged,
play in? Okay, so you're
and
engaged.
I had a surgery scheduled for 3 weeks after our wedding, and the surgery was supposed to help these horrible back problems that I had been having, and the surgery actually ended up being a failure, and I was part of the 5% that was left physically disabled.
Wow. So you went from teacher's assistant to a teacher, meeting the love of your life, and then all of a sudden, snap.
All of a
I
sudden,
mean,
snap.
yeah. And I was reading your bio. You basically you bent down to reach something, and something
snapped. Literally snapped. I was born with what's called scoliosis, and that's an abnormal curvature of the spine. That was monitored back then. It was around 1994 when I was diagnosed. They didn't have the type of preventative approaches to scoliosis that they do nowadays. Back then, it was go to a doctor once a year, get an X-ray, and they're like, "You're okay. Let's keep an eye on it for another year."
right.
And every year it got worse, but not bad enough to have a surgery. It was basically don't do anything or have a surgery. And my parents and I didn't love those options. So we did nothing, and I go to college and I start having some pain, and the doctors referred me to a physical therapist and a nutritionist, and it's all about, taking care of your body. And I got the pain under control, and it was just this minor thing all back then. And it was Gage and I, it was the 1-year anniversary of my husband and I dating is when I bent over to pick something up and I screamed.
Wow.
And he was in the house with me at the time. He was in another, I'm calling for him. And basically my life changed after that moment because I never fully regained my ability and I never lost the pain after that moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it feel like all your dreams were just crushed?
Oh,
all of a sudden you're in surgery. All of a sudden you're about to get married. Wow.
Absolutely devastated.
Well, we'll be right back after a quick message and hear the rest of what Stephanie's journey and what happened after this.
My nanny always say, shine your light, find your moment, find your heart and joy into something you really want to create. And I do. I create Made with Love.
If you're looking for positive and uplifting movies that empower actors seeking to shine their light, you'll be blessed to check out Made with Love, a movie to show the love and value of individuals with Down syndrome, and to star our best friend Jay. The world sure could use a lot more love, and you can make a difference. Be a part of this project. Visit madewithlovethemovie.com to learn more.
And we're back with Stephanie to hear the rest of this journey. This is incredible. So you're married, and all of a sudden your world just crashes, and
right.
You're permanently disabled.
I'm permanently disabled. So there was about a year that I was kind of in limbo. I had the pain and I was trying anything that someone recommended to me. I tried, acupuncture. I was doing those float places, chiropractor. I was getting injections. I was doing more physical therapy. I was hydrotherapy, you name it. I'm like, let me try it. I'm not accepting this. This isn't God's plan for me. God made me a teacher. That's what I'm called to be. And at that point, before my surgery, it was a one full school year from when I bent over and got hurt to when I had the surgery, and I tried everything. But every day I'm going to school and I have this weight of pain on top of me. And I'm like, God, all right, where are you taking me now? Because this isn't sustainable. And someone suggests surgery. And so I get in with a very renowned surgeon in St. Louis, and he does the surgery, and I wake up and I'm in torture and it doesn't get better. And everyone's just thinking, oh, you just need a little bit longer time to heal. And over the 6 weeks, recovery time went by. And this, I was a teacher, so I did the surgery over the summer. Oh, I got married, went on my honeymoon, had the surgery, and then I had 6 weeks to get better before the school year started. Everything's working on my teacher clock.
Your pain threshold must be intense.
Yeah. I mean, I only know mine, but yeah, like I pushed through it. And after the surgery, I couldn't even carry my laptop bag from my car to my classroom. My husband would follow me to my school, walk me in, get me set up, and then drive to his school 30 minutes away, because I was so limited on what I was able to do at this point.
Right.
So at the end of the year, all my doctors are like, you can't do this anymore. Let's try taking a year off and we'll do a full rehab and we'll let you, go back. I'm sure that'll be what gets you. And it wasn't. I did a year, did every single possible rehabilitation that you could. Another surgery wasn't an option. I had what's called a fusion, and they basically cement my body in this position. And what we think happens is I have multiple conditions. I have scoliosis, I have some arthritis, I have some bulging discs, I have some tears in places. I did all of the diagnostic testing prior to the surgery to make sure I was a candidate for the surgery, but not everything is a guarantee. And what we think happened is, since my extra curve wasn't corrected, the surgeon thought if he could just stabilize my body, that the extra movement would be stopped and then my pain would be stopped. But instead, I have this extra curve and I'm frozen in this position that's making me very painful. And now I can't get out of this position because I'm stuck in it. And I saw several other surgeons to be like, can we reverse the surgery? No, we literally have to break your back and take out all the fusion hardware and see if your back could heal, with our help. But it's not very promising.
Oh, wow.
So I got a lot of let's figure out how you can live and manage this pain. But more than anything, you can't teach anymore. And I was broken.
Bet.
Gage and I had just gotten married. He went from my fiance to my husband to my caregiver in a year. There were times I would faint walking from the bedroom to the bathroom in pain. So he'd have to walk me or carry me. I mean, it was, my life was really turned upside down. And of course, I'm in an existential crisis. Like, God, you brought me here and you gave me such a heart and a passion for kids with special needs. Nothing made sense to me about it.
You felt like it was just taken away.
It was taken away.
Yeah.
And then we wanted a million kids. We wanted babies.
Yeah.
I told everyone when they asked, how many kids do you guys want? I'm like, oh, at least 4. Like, we want babies. But, then we're faced with, I can't take care of myself. Gage is helping take care of me. my body is in so much pain. We didn't even know if I physically could have kids, but we thought even if I could carry a child, I couldn't take care of a child. So then
Right.
we're grieving
So
that.
many questions.
So many questions, so many things that we just grieved over and over again. I'm constantly grieving not being a teacher and losing my physical abilities. And then these babies we didn't even have, I'm mourning them. And we lived this life for a few years of just kind of survival. That was basically what it was.
Yeah.
And then I got led to like the right physical therapist, and I had the right pain specialist, and we finally got me on the right medications. And I got this brace was helping and this and not working, not forcing myself to go into the classroom every day. It was a huge relief on my body. And next thing I know, it's Gage and I were like, I haven't had like a they're called a pain flare when your pain is like unmanageable. And I would have them sometimes daily, sometimes weekly. I realized I hadn't had one where I was bedridden for like 6 months.
Wow.
All of the factors that we'd been working on finally for 5 years. This had been about 4 or 5 years since the surgery. Wow. So we're celebrating it. And then I remember looking at Gage like, can we have a baby? Because we thought that dream had died.
Yeah.
I had to say it once to him, and he's like, let's go ask your doctors. So we immediately go do the rounds, ask all of my care team, go to, the female doctor, and they're all like, your pain's managed. Let's do this.
Did that kind of seem weird that you almost had to ask people if you could have a child?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, that's not, most people don't have to do that.
Between Gage and I, but I didn't trust anything anymore.
Right.
I didn't want to be like caught up in this little hiatus of pain and then bring a kid into this world and not be able to take care of them.
Yeah. And
so I needed the validation from my medical team to be like, we have your back, like we back you on this. And honestly, we were shocked that everybody backed us. They're like, we know that this has been something that you've wanted. Yeah. And before we didn't trust, they kind of knew Gage and I would figure out how to take care of the baby, but they didn't know how my body would respond to like being pregnant. But they're like, this is the best your pain has ever been managed. So let's try it. And God, first try, first month, I'm pregnant. And, I'm elated. Gage was meant to be a father. I mean, I'm like going to tear up just talking about it. And we have our first daughter, Charlotte, and she just is our entire world. We are just in love with being parents, with each other, with this child. We are the perfect little threesome. It's just everything we wanted it to be. And so we're like, well, we want more. And we're like, let's be strategic about this. I knew, carrying around one baby was physically hard on my body. I didn't send my baby to daycare, but I had my mom or my dad over to help me constantly. I had neighbors helping. I would have like some sort of, basically if Gage worked anything outside of an 8-hour day, someone had to come over. Like if he had an after school meeting, I needed to help. I couldn't do more than that. Like my body was like, you can do while Gage is gone, but then when Gage gets home, someone needs to come step in. So basically I knew my strengths and I knew my weaknesses. And one of the things we said was, well, let's wait till this baby, Charlotte, is old enough to like walk and to where I felt comfortable sending her to like a couple Mother's Day out afternoons or something to give myself a break so that then I could focus on new baby. So we're like, all right, again, go around, ask all the medical team. Everyone's like, yeah, great timing. Let's do this. Pregnant right away. I have Francesca and we are obsessed with her and she's just the perfect addition and we are beyond blessed. And Gage thinks we're done. And I mean, I'm not going to say pregnancy was not easy on my body. I ended up being bedridden with both pregnancies. I had, some minor complications. Both of my babies ended up being perfectly healthy and amazing. And then I was like, I think we should try again. And Gage was shocked. And he's like, we did this twice successfully.
We're like, pushing it.
Why are you pushing it? Yes. I'm like, okay, let's pray about it. And it just felt like such a calling still. And it wasn't because I was missing or lacking anything. I was obsessed. I loved my babies. I mean, like, I was meant to be a mom. This is awesome. But I knew my family wasn't complete. And this time we didn't get pregnant right away. And we're like talking to the doctor and making sure everything's okay. Also, because of all my stuff, I'm now 39 trying to get pregnant, still not pregnant. So age is a factor.
Yes.
And yeah, and so is my husband. We're both getting older, and it just wasn't happening right away. So we're praying about it, and I get pregnant, and then I have a miscarriage, and we're devastated. We'd even told the girls, so we had dealt with this huge loss as a family. And then it's like, well, do we keep trying? And it was still in my heart, like, we're not done. That baby that is in heaven now, like, that's not the one that I was thinking about. There's another one. And I just knew something. Yeah, I knew it. I knew we weren't done. And Gage kind of gave me a timeline. He was like, well, I'd like to stop trying maybe by my 40th birthday. And I thought that was reasonable. And 2 months before then, I get pregnant. And this baby sticks. And we're over the moon. I'm like, this feels complete. We're meant to be a family of 5. And this is it, So by this time, I'm like, I'm a pro. Right. I'm a mom of, this will be my 3rd. I didn't have Gage come with me to like all the doctor appointments. It was more like, oh, you're home from school. You want to come with me? I got to go have an ultrasound, whereas before, like, we'd pull Charlotte out of school. Gage would take off work. We'd all go up to go see little baby Frankie in my belly. And now it's like, hey, who's home? Who's coming with me? And it was at one of those appointments I found out that my baby boy in my belly had something that was known as a duodenal atresia, and that was very common for babies who have Down syndrome. And I'm like, at that point, it didn't even compute that I would have a baby with Down syndrome. All I was focused on was like, I don't know what this woman just said. I couldn't pronounce that for like ever. And all I knew was I needed to start seeing a specialist, a fertility, a maternal, there's a name, MFM, a maternal fetal specialist person. I had to go start seeing them. I had to get another very in-depth ultrasound. At that point, the percentage of me having a baby with Down syndrome was less than 10%. And so what was on the forefront of my mind was, I heard this baby has to have surgery. Let's find the best hospital for the baby. Hopefully I can be at the same hospital when I'm recovering, because I've always had to have C-sections. Like, let's focus on getting this baby out of me and healthy and surgery and da da da. So
that in itself was scary.
Oh, it's so scary. So scary. This was also a really, really, really rough pregnancy. I basically had morning sickness the whole time. It never stopped. I was contracting all the time. My contractions would cause my back pain to flare. Ooh. Or if I was having an okay contraction day, if I was having a bad back day, they would cause contractions.
Oh, man.
So it was like, I'm like, okay, we're never doing this again. This is definitely the last one. And I'm basically bedridden now. And now baby has to have surgery. Like, let's figure this out. So I'm like, Gage, he wants to come with me to these specialist appointments now. And we go and we meet with the specialist, and she tells us how our baby most likely will have Down syndrome. No, she said, I'm so sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. She said there's a higher chance that our baby would have Down syndrome. Another thing that was happening because of what was going on with Josiah, I was carrying extra fluid, and it was what was having me contract. And we didn't want the baby to come early, so they wanted me to have a fluid reduction. So when you do that, they're basically doing an amniocentesis, which is where they get the material to actually give you a diagnosis. Yeah. So since I was going to have the procedure anyways, Gage and I already decided whether this baby had Down syndrome or not, we're going to love this child. Like, absolutely. We're keeping this baby. I think I was even like already 30 weeks along. Like, I'm in the final stretch here. And so what do we need to do to keep this baby in me as long as possible, to be prepared for the surgery? And now we may have Down syndrome. Okay. Like, if anything, that was the least of our concerns because I was a special ed teacher and Gage was an elementary school teacher. And, it was still maybe, we don't know. And I got the phone call and I cried. They said he has Down syndrome. But like in your film, I got the positive phone call. I got a phone call from the genetics counselor. She's like, well, I have your results. Okay. She's like, your baby has trisomy 21, also known as Down syndrome. I cry because I want my baby to have the best life possible. Mm-hmm. And even though I was a special ed teacher, I'd only worked with one child who had Down syndrome, who was amazing and adorable. And I loved working with him, but I didn't know like the medical side. I didn't know the parenting side. I only knew the teaching side. And I was scared. And she just kept reassuring me. She's like, I can tell you, no matter what, this baby is going to be a gift to your family. This baby will be a blessing. And
That's awesome.
She had statistics for me from Harvard that was telling me, she's like, I just want to encourage you. Harvard had done studies that show that families who have a child with Down syndrome are reportedly happier. And that even though the divorce rate in our country is so high, and especially of parents with kids with special needs, the divorce rate of parents who have a child with Down syndrome is lower than the national average.
Wow.
And then she went on to talk about my other kids, how, the siblings of a child with Down syndrome are typically more empathetic and compassionate and wonderful, like grow up with this innate caring, nurturing side of them. So she was just like preaching the benefits. And so
you should go back to that doctor if you haven't already probably done this and say you are one of the lucky few yourself to give such a positive diagnosis in the way you did.
Yeah.
Maybe you've already talked to her and stuff, but because there's a lot of counselors, genetic doctors, and all those out there that do it, but there's not enough of her.
Right. There are not.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what her name was. I'm sure it's written down somewhere. I then had to follow-up appointment with my OB and with my nurse practitioner, and both of them were super warm and supportive and hugged me and embraced the situation with me. And I'm still very close with both of them. That's and I have personally thanked both of them, but I should do it to the genetics counselor because she was the first person to deliver that message of positivity.
Right. Because, imagine if she hadn't.
I can't even imagine that. It's already such a scary unknown. Yeah. And as a mother, you're already so protective over this child and over your already family that you've created. And you just want to make everything as healthy and perfect as possible. As you're a parent. And for it to be addressed in a basically like you can do it kind of way. That's also what led to me being like, oh, this is why you had me go to school, God. Right. This is why you took my focus off marketing and turned it towards education and special education and people with special needs. And this is why you opened up my heart to have such a calling to, just want to be a part of people with special needs lives. And, it was from start to finish. It was like 11 years that I went from teaching until I think I had Josiah, and maybe even longer. And for like a decade, I would pray. And if somebody would ask me like, when you get to heaven, what's something you're gonna ask God? Why did you have me go be a teacher? Why did I go back to school? Why did I put all that work into it? Why did you give me such a heart for this to then kind of get it taken away because of my physical disability? And then I have Josiah and I'm like, that's why.
Yeah. Now, a couple last things. Tell us what you named him Josiah, and I was reading your whole thing.
Yes.
Tell us what Josiah means.
Oh, I love this part. Okay, so this is a cute little story. The first boy I ever taught to read, his name was Alexander. He was in my special ed class. He was like cutest little guy. So as you meet teachers in your life, you'll realize they've had students that they remember. And there are teachers who become parents who are like, I am not naming my kid that. Like there were names I was
Right.
excited about that I would say to Gage, and he'd be like, "No, I had one of those. We're not using that." But so we're trying to think of a boy name because we've only had girls, and we have all these girls' names in our head, and then we're like, well, gosh. And the one name that we were both like, yeah, was Alexander, but it wasn't sticking. It wasn't the same that we got when we named Charlotte and Francesca. It was like, it'll work. And you know, Gage was like, I've had good Alexes, and I'm like, I taught Alex how to read, you know. And after we got the diagnosis and we found out we were going to have surgery, I was awake in the middle of the night one night, you know, baby kicking, me not able to sleep, and I'm just scrolling. I'm like, God, give me the name. And the one name out of thousands of names that I looked at was Josiah, and it really stuck out to me. And we'd always thought about if we had a girl, naming her maybe Josephine. My grandma was a Josephine. We have a niece, Josephine, and we could call her Joey. Like, we're like, okay, maybe. So then when I see Josiah, I'm like, I really like it. It seems kind of unique, like my other kids' names. And then I looked it up, and it means God heals. And I woke up Gage. I said, we're changing our baby's name. And he's like, what? I mean, he's used to me this kind of stuff by now. And I was just like, his name is Josiah. We can call him Josiah Alexander. And Gage is like, yeah, okay. I'm like, it means God heals. He's like, yes.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Is that you call him JoJo, right?
We call him JoJo.
His nickname
Jojo. Everything. JoJo, Josiah, Joey. Most of his family call him JoJo or Joey.
Is that who I hear in the background every once in a while?
Would you like to meet him?
Yes, it would be awesome.
Hey, can you guys come here? Yeah, you can all come.
Now that we've heard about all these wonderful
all of my
people in your family.
Come here. Don't be shy. Oh, Big Sis is carrying JoJo.
Oh, there he is.
This is Josiah.
Hi.
Jeff.
Look at you. Hi. Oh, wow. I got a hi. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Are you going to
such a wonderful family.
He is talking to you. This is my Charlotte. She is the best big sister in the world.
Okay.
This is my Frankie. Oh, Joey's trying to write. He's trying to write with my pencil. Frankie is also the best little sister and the best big sister. This is Gage.
Hi, Jeff.
Gage.
And this is our JoJo.
Yes. So has the relationship with the two sisters, how are they, you know, with JoJo? I mean, I've heard, like you said earlier, your family gets even closer and better and so much more.
I mean, this one right here is a little mommy. She carried him in here. She is. If
That's
JoJo
awesome.
is working on walking and he falls and cries, I literally have to fight the girls so I can pick him up because they're running to him to take care of him. Right?
Oh.
Is that he's still working on his words. He calls Charlotte Baba and he calls Frankie Yaya.
No, now he calls me a different name.
Little Lala. Can you say hi, Baba?
So what are the ages again?
So JoJo will be 2 in October.
Okay.
Charlotte is 8.5 going into 3rd grade.
Wait, is today from the 26th?
No, it's the 27th. She just turned 8.5 yesterday. This is Francesca. She is about to be kindergarten for the first time, going to big kids school, and she's 5.5.
Wow.
And yeah, I definitely say our family has gotten so much closer. The girls
I can imagine.
Are amazing advocates. The girls did a fundraiser last year to raise money on World Down Syndrome Day. You are so chatty. I know. You want to tell me.
That's awesome.
He loves to pull hair and they don't get mad at him. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Right? What do you love about being JoJo's sister?
Hugs.
He gives good hugs.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Charlotte, is there anything you want to tell Mr. Jeff that you love about having JoJo as your brother? Can you look at him and tell him?
He's the best brother in the whole wide world.
The best
I bet he is. Gage, anything
you want to add?
Oh, that just kind of similar to what Steph was saying, we were nervous when we first got the diagnosis, even though we both had experience teaching students with special needs. But, we just love him so much, and I wouldn't change a thing about him.
But you couldn't have seen your life now way back then when you two got married.
Like happier, like even who knew that we could be even happier.
Yeah.
Like, so, we just thought, it'll be a little bit more challenging.
Right.
Managed to find some joy, but it's just been opposite of that. It's just been exponential joy.
There'll be like little moments of like, oh man, he had a sleep study and he has sleep apnea and we have to figure that out. But like, that's a blip compared to how much joy we have as a family. Our favorite place to be is just together. We will all be in our smallest bathroom because that's where we all are. Like we are like glued to each other.
That's awesome.
The best way.
That's awesome. Oh man, it is great to see you all. Well, I'm going to I'm going to say goodbye and farewell. And JoJo, it is awesome to see you. Bye-bye. I know you've been wanting to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye,
You
Jeff.
bet.
Take care.
Say bye-bye.